Tervetuloa Aalto-yliopiston ylioppilaskunnan edustajiston kokoontumiseen.
Welcome to the AYYE Referencing Council meeting.
Nyt on tiistai 23. toukokuuta 2023.
Tuesday, 23rd of May, 2023.
Ja avaan kokouksen.
Time is 5:18. Opening the meeting. Closing item 1. Moving to item 2. Recording the members who are recording the members and deputy members of the council who are unavailable, disqualified, ineligible, resigned, and present. So we will perform the roll call. And the roll call is performed by Antti Ilmavirta, next to the director and the secretary of this meeting. Antti, go ahead. Thank you. Yes, I'm hopefully the secretary for this meeting because the due date for our child was a week ago. So it may be that I may have to leave suddenly if the due date is today. Yes, let's perform the roll call, starting with Aallon kokoomus.
Ikävalko myöhässä, Ruuska ja muita ilmeisesti ei. Kem Hämynen. Oliko muita? Hentman myöhässä. Jes, selvä. Pistetään ylös. Varmistakaa sitten, kun teillä tulee näitä myöhässä tulijoita, että he...
And yes, please let us know or make sure that they announce themselves if some of you members come in late.
Haapanen. Kainulainen. Huikuri. Ollanketo. Riihimäki, Takanen, muita, yes, Luja, ei nimiä listassa, onko ihmisiä paikalla? Ei ihmisiä paikalla, selvä.
So no one from Luja present, so Luova next.
Kanniainen, muita, ei muita. Skisma, ei nimiä listassa, onko ihmisiä paikalla? Mäntylä ja Hyytinen, kiitos. Sitten vihreämpi Aalto Robbins, Mikkonen, Arstila, Palosuo, Manninen, Hirvonen, Hirvenoja, Malvikko, Mölsä, Pyhälammi ilmeisesti myöhässä, noin, kirjanpito kohdalleen, sitten Heikkinen vielä, muita, Voltti, Fiilman, Huttunen, Våga, Holmström, Segerkrantz, Lerche, pahoittelut, jos meni lausuminen aivan pieleen.
Apologies if I pronounced it incorrectly.
30 edustajiston
Yes, we have 30 representatives present.
Se on aina mukava, kun ennen kokousta ei tarvitse
And thank you for that, so that we don't have to be afraid if we have quorum or not. Yes, we have 30 representatives present. Also grant the right to speak to all AYYE employees, the OBS people, interpreters, and from representatives of NewSec. And also the Chief Financial Officer, Executive Director, and the Financial Committee have the right to be present and to speak. And all members of the Student Union have the right to be present. Anyone else who need to be granted right to be present or right to speak? Apparently not. So we can close item 2 and move to item 3, recording the lawfulness and quorum of the meeting. We have a quorum if there are at least 25 representatives present and the chair or vice chair of the Representative Council. The invitation to the meeting must be published on AYYE's bulletin board and website 7 days prior to the meeting. Members of the Representative Council must be sent the invitation to the meeting at least via email at least 7 days prior to the meeting in Finnish, Swedish, and English. We have at least 25 members present and the chair, and the invitation to the meeting has been delivered 7 days prior to the meeting as per the rules. Filman? Thank you. Could you repeat that?
Hallitus aiemmin päättänyt, meidän ilmoitustaulu on virallinen. Virallinen ilmoitustaulu on ylioppilaskunnan internetsivuilla. Onko meidän kokouskutsu ollut siellä?
I think the official bulletin board is on the website. Was the invitation on that bulletin board? Yes, it has been delivered at least on the email list. I think it has been forwarded from there to the places where it needs to be delivered. And yes, we can now say that the meeting is lawful and has quorum. Closing item 3, moving to item 4, election of 2 persons approving the minutes and 2 vote counters. So we elect the 2 persons approving the minutes and 2 vote counters and 2 deputies for both. And as before, I propose that the persons who approve the minutes are the vice or the deputies for vote counters and vice versa, which means that we need 4 names. Opening discussion. Any proposals?
Yes, sitten vielä.
Okay.
Oliko äänenlaskija vai pöytäkirjan tarkastaja?
Was it proposal for vote counter or scrutinizer of the minutes?
Yes, tarvitaan vielä yksi kumpaakin.
Yes, we need 1 more name for both.
Mahtavaa.
Yes, great. And your brother cannot hear anything from the audience without the microphone.
Se yksi pöytäkirjan tarkastaja.
So yes, now we need 1 more person to approve the minutes. Filman?
Oletko siis käytettävissä pöytäkirjan tarkastajaksi?
So you are available? Okay.
Mahtavaa.
Excellent.
Yes, päätän aiheesta keskustelun.
Closing discussion. So Riihimäki and Filman will approve the minutes. Their deputies are Arstilan Saikku, and our vote counters are Arstilan Saikku, and their deputies are Riihimäki and Filman. This has been decided. Closing item 4. Moving to item 5, approval of the agenda for the meeting. The agenda has been sent to you with the invitation to the meeting. Thank you. I propose a change to the agenda. To maximize the time use of the people present, or something like that. So yes, so that item 9 would be handled after item 9.
Lisäksi esitän, että kohdan
So items 8 and 9
keskustelu
switch places.
käytäväksi suljettuna istuntona, koska siinä tulee esille
I thought that we will have a
niin on
closed
syytä
discussion
tietoon liittyen. Tämä kans
in
todetaan
items 8 and 9 because they
19 momentissa.
include confidential material.
Oikeus.
And this is also in line with our constitution
Jollain vastusta.
that we can do this. Does anyone oppose to these changes?
Näytä olevan.
Apparently no.
Esityslista
So we
2,
can approve the
4
agenda for a
järjestetään
meeting
uusiksi ja
with
päästään
these changes.
kohdat 8 ja 9 suljetuissa istunnoissa ja
So they decided that 8 and 9 will be handled in
jälkeen. Päätettäneen
closed session, and item 9 will be handled after item 7. Yes, closing item 5, moving to item 6, announcements. Opening discussion.
Ilmoitusasialla, että
Any announcements to make? Oh, yes, I have an announcement.
jäädyt ovat tallessa.
The anniversary party went very well, and the medallions are also in place and intact. Any other announcements?
Keskustelun. Päätään kohdan 7 käsittelyn ja siirrytään kohtaan 7.
Closing item 6, moving to item 7, latest news from the office.
Toimiston ajankohtaisia kuulumisia. Olkaa hyvä.
Kaikkea on myös edustajista. Mä laitoin sekä Edarin kansioon että sulle Teamsissa. Yes. No niin. Mahtavaa. Pahoittelut jo.
Yes.
Tästä säädöstä piti lisätä
Apologies
muutama.
for this slight delay.
Tervehdys kaikille.
But yes, hello everyone.
Sonja tällä kertaa.
I'm Anni Matson,
Kertomassa, mitä tässä
Fanny Matson, and I will be presenting
aikana on.
the latest news from the central office. So what we have done during the last month. I was asked to talk a bit about our action plan project. So the implementation of the action plan, let's start with that. At the end of last year, you were presented with this year's action plan. So a bit of an update on what's going on with that. Prepare the SharePoint, been one of our key projects, and it's now well underway with Marski Data. They have trained AYYE in the use of SharePoint and Teams. We have looked into what structures do not work, what we would need to do for it to work better and it to be more unified. Because now SharePoint and Teams are not in sync with each other. And of course, it would be best if there were. We are working on the new structure with several teams, and we ask for their opinions on what works and what doesn't. Also, the new intro page is under construction to receive new content. The second project related to this is the review of our different facilities. This has turned out to be more complex than we thought.
vaikeuksia, mutta on
It's been difficult to
tahojen kanssa.
start the project,
Syksylle jää tässä jutussa sitten vielä tehtävää.
so there is still work to do in the autumn regarding this project.
Edustajista kansiossa tai kokouskansiossa löytyy valmis kautta valmis alaviiva AYYE.
And you should find the final file in AYYE inside. Yes, this is as before that the Representative Council cannot access the Representative Council's folder, so I can send you the slides via email as well.
Joo. Toimitetaan nämä teille tietysti heti miten.
God will deal with these to you as soon as possible.
Näitä projekteja, niin
Other projects, renewal of our website, a big project.
Kuten ehkä muistatte, niin tarkoitus olisi saada meidän
As you may remember,
ystävällisemmät ja
we want to make our website more user-friendly and clearer.
erilaisia polkuja, että miten mikäkin johtaa aina seuraavalle sivulle ja
Kind of
myöskin
thought about the design of the paths and also make some changes to the home page. The design will be made by a third party and Siili will do the implementation because Aalto is responsible for the technical side of the AYYE website, which means that Siili is responsible for this. There's requested for quotations from 7 different service providers and we received 4 responses. The management group discussed the offers and a designer was selected. And we will sign the contract as soon as possible. And during the summer, we'll plan meetings. People are on holiday, so we'll start the actual implementation in the autumn. It also looks that we will stay within the budget's limits. Then update of the policy paper, a different item about that in this meeting, so I will not go through that here. And the last action plan projects, student center fundraising. Worked on it together with TF and KY. We have not yet recruited a separate coordinator, but we will look into it if we would need one. We have contacted different foundations, done some work, and also held some pitches. Then for housing activities, information and knowledge management. We have made changes to the guidelines, the regulations. We'll reform Domo. And for data management, also made some policies on how to centralize housing information more clearly into a single place. Then development of our student housing stock. As you know, we are trying to sell part of our portfolio. So for the new buildings in Otakaari, the project plan has been completed. We will start the implementation planning from building 3. For Serviniemi, the project is still in the outline phase. This is very much related to the new developments in Otakaari through ARA, etc. Also, the draft for the investment program will be adapted according to the property portfolio. So that's that for the action plan projects. Let's move on to the actual news from the central office. So first, community. Tutor trainings, we had a lot of them. They're almost wrapped up now. We have Imran as our amazing tutor coordinator. There's been a great help, great relief. We also discussed with Aalto of how to develop the tutor training. And in June, we will go to Mikkeli to train their tutors as well. Was at the tutor party last week in Smäki. I believe it was a success. Then the operating grant application period is still open. It closes tomorrow. Then we have two new associations, Crust and Ole, I think. There's a planning for the autumn already. So the Aalto party with the university. So working with the university on that. And for the alumni sector, we're planning the Aalto graduation party in June and the alumni weekend in October, together with the university. Some past events, here you can see them, probably familiar to you. About the real estate sector, today we have a separate item about the sale situation of our properties. Then the tendering for real estate services, it's underway. I received many tenders. And we have now done some comparisons between these tenders and also made some negotiation. So next month we will try to move it forward quite a bit. There's a tender going on for the Ottakare facelift project. Hopefully we'll get the bids in early June. Then about the new buildings in Ottakare, I already mentioned them. We have discussions with ARA about them. So a block thinking and good views on the location of community activities are some of the highlights regarding that. Then the resident survey results are here. Hopefully many of you answered the survey. And we got good grades and lots of important data for future development. The response rate was almost 40%. And here you can see some numbers. So the overall rating was 4. Top 3. So the most important factors for AYYE residents are the level of rent, access to apartment on time, and location. And bottom 3, shared facilities in the cell block, or in the cell block, but in the shared flat, cleaning of laundry and landscaping. About the student center. So we had this chemistry block was approved by the Espoo City Council, but 2 appeals have been made against it related to the flying squirrel population. They're not directly in this area, but it will still affect the project. So it may take some time for this to actually be processed. So yes, the zoning was a year late. So there's a real risk of delay. Then services next. Changes have been made to Domo when it comes to resident selection. And test use has been going on from the start of June. About facilities, there have been many complaints about the cleaning of premises and deficiencies in that regard.
tehty varaus.
So in the future, a reservation made for AYY's rental space must be cancelled no later than 14 days before the reservation date.
Pandemian myötä, mutta nyt palataan takaisin tähän 14 vuorokauden.
So we had this different deadline during the pandemic, but now we'll get back to this regular 14 days. And yes, as a reminder, service offices and the telephone services are closed because of recreational days on the 9th and 15th of June, and also the service offices are closed at these dates. Then about communications. Of course, the communications sector has been very busy during Vappu and the capping of Manta, but it was a great success. We got some excellent social media material out of it. And hopefully as many of you have seen the after movie for that as well. And yes, related to communications, the website project, it's still going on. And yesterday we had the Repco election kick-off. And there was also a part about communications there. We had meetings with Aalto University's communications, which is nice, because we haven't had many of those after the pandemic. There was the SYL sector day for the communication sector will be on the 26th of May. A lot of event communication, AYYE 13 annual ball, Borough of the Year, victory was given to Otaniemi. Then about advocacy, I made some statements and opinion pieces. Stopping the insidious expansion of non-free education and also get the basics right before increasing the number of starting places, so admitted students. I also had this International Task Force project, had its first meeting on 12th of May. Next meeting will be in June. And this is in cooperation with the Aalto and Helsinki University. Now we'll be preparing the policy paper process. And audit results have been published, and also planning the BioBlitz with Aalto. So about administration, the automation of facility invoicing is progressing. Want to make sure that the associations will be able to continue to pay by invoice, but private individual reservations are paid through PayTrail, because this means a lot less manual labor.
Transfermeitä ei saadakaan toistaiseksi käyttöön KV-opiskelijoiden jäsenmaksujen maksamiseen.
But the transfermate cannot yet be used to pay membership fees for international students for the time being. But AYYE has identified partners who could take over the maintenance of the association's websites. More information about that coming soon. Then we have the Repco elections. Halfway through the second year of the term. So yesterday we had the election kickoff event in Rantasauna. There's a lot of good information on the President Council and the nomination of candidates. Also materials will be shared for Repco groups and published on AYYE's website. So here we have the dates. So the time frame from running as candidate will open on the 28th of August and end on the 2nd of October, and the voting will be open between the 1st and 8th of November. And last, from news from the board, we had the capping of the Manta. It was a great success. So thanks to Team Manta for that. We really enjoyed Vappu. recreational events and got to know to each other, represented at various events. Then we also had our annual ball last weekend, so thank you to all the organizers for that. We also had a campus tour with AMT. Also visited some special facilities on campus. Some of them were quite new to us. It was interesting. Then we have a SexMu seminar in June, so we are preparing for that together with who. Then we have different representational duties. For example, at the commemoration ceremony of the old members, and when Otaniemi was announced as District of the Year. And here are the topics that the board has discussed in their meetings. Yeah, we have quite a bit of everything. I will not read them out loud. You can read them yourselves or read them afterwards. Yes, thank you for that. And have a good summer, everyone. And now, time for questions. Let's see if I can answer them.
And hopefully you can hear it on the stream as well. I will hereby open the discussion on the topic.
Kiitos puheenjohtaja Fimmo Votti. Mun on useampi kysymys, voinko ottaa kaikki kerralla?
Ota yksi kerralla.
Well, question, should we take several questions? Should we take them one at a time?
Vähän eri järjestyksessä. IT-kartus.
Interpreter knows that the microphone is quite quiet for the audience.
Onko tämä laitettu vain tietyille tahoille, mille tahoille ja miksi vaan näille? Kuuluuko nyt paremmin?
Is this louder?
Eli IT-kartoitus.
About the IT reform update charting.
Minne tämä on lähetetty ja miksi näille tahoille ja mitä sieltä on tullut?
How has the communications taken place with these parties with the tendering of the IT charting?
Yhdistyksillä niin joku taho, joka ottaa sitä koppia.
Do we have a separate party that is designated as being in charge of these matters? Unfortunately, I don't have the answer myself here. Do we have anyone who knows about this matter more specifically? Yes, I only found out about this a few days ago, so we will get the detailed information for this for the next meeting. But my understanding is that it is still ongoing with the review processes for the charging process. And we will start to be we will start that process in proper in a few weeks, and then move on with it will proceed properly in the autumn. Yes, and this matter has been discussed with the various training events. And the progress with the project is we have been having discussions with one of the potential partners. So we don't have any individual details locked down at this point. So I won't go into more detail about it at this point. Yes, and please, we can limit the questions to one per person, please. Thank you, Vihreämpi Aalto, Arstila here. On the last slide, you said that
oletan, että sieltä yliopistosta, ylioppilaskunnalta ehkä, niin olisi mielenkiintoista kuulla, että minkä sisältöä
there was some communications with the other universities, student body, I believe. I would like to hear more details about what is this a cooperation that has happened previously and is now continuing or being rebuilt? What is the detailed situation? Yes, but before the pandemic, we had even fairly active cooperation with them. And the message we received recently was that we could start reactivating that cooperation, and we could this summer in July receive a visit from them, and we said that it's a bit too short of a notice for us to arrange that kind of visit, but so we could not arrange it at this point. But we have also considered having a more broader discussion within AYYE of what kinds of international cooperation we should be pursuing. So currently there are no plans to engage in cooperation with Tsinghua.
Yes,
Palosuo here from Vihreämpi Aalto. Regarding the website update, you mentioned there that there would be the work would be divided between a third party and Siili.
Rakenteen suunnitteli kolmas osapuoli ja toteutuksen Siili, ja nyt me ollaan tilanteessa, missä se ei ole mieluisa meille, niin miten me varmistuttaisiin siltä, että tämä sama...
And I think we have had a similar arrangement before, which did not lead to good results. So how are we ensuring now that we avoid the pitfalls that we have fallen into previously?
Joo, täydennän ne, ja jos sanon jotain väärin.
Yes, and you feel free to everyone to correct me and supplement my information if I'm incorrect. So we are working together with these parties so that within the Aalto Siili agreement, Aalto is paying some amount of the website expenses. So if we were to rebuild the entire website solely based on a third-party operator, it would be significantly more expensive. And of course, this kind of design always gets outdated, so they have to be updated every now and then. So now we know more about what our website should look like rather than we did last time. But no agreements have been signed yet, even though we're quite close to that moment. But we have been building this sort of design plan for the new website that would also, if we need to change operators, that would also serve as a good design document for them. So this design work will certainly be helpful, and we are trying to find this general solution that is the most affordable and sensible based on the total expenses.
Kiitos puheenjohtaja Timo Valtti.
Thank you, Timo Valtti.
Mitä itse muistan noihin kahteen äskeiseen asiaan, niin korjatkaa toki jos väärä.
My recollections based on the previous two matters
lopetettiin, koska ilmasto
is that we
ihmisoikeudet, muistaakseni nämä oli ne kaksi syytä, jonka takia niitä jatkettu. Ja sitten tuohon
ended our cooperation with Tsinghua previously due to largely, I think, based on climate matters and human rights issues. Those were the two main points that were issues before.
Meillä yhteisössä paljon mitään. Mutta kysymyksenä
that we were not really benefiting anything from that cooperation in general. For the tendering process, we sent a request for an offer to 7 parties, and we received 4 offers. So I'm wondering why we have not had an open possibility for the entire AYYE community to discuss these tenders. So would it be possible when we do this kind of tendering and receive tenders from parties that we could then have a round of comments from the general community on those tenders? Yes, AYYE's analysis is that it is not so simple that it is that whether we could simply do it with just anyone. It's best to be done with an established operator that has good references that would, so we get a good result. It is our assessment that with this kind of process, this gives us the best end result. Also here with the vihreän Aalto.
Toiveen, että tämä kolmas osapuoli sitten tekisi jonkinnäköistä
follow-up question. We would like the third-party operator that is eventually selected to then do some kind of customer feedback survey or studies based on what are the needs of the website. Where previously, I think those have been attempted, but we have not received we didn't get statistically reasonable amount of responses. So I think that we have been having problems with these processes before, so those should be taken into account. Yes, I'll give you a brief comment on this question, that in the autumn, we had a short project in the autumn where we tried to chart these issues with the website. So the survey that we sent out had a low amount of response rates, but we did receive very good feedback from the general process as well. Yes, I wanted to comment on the Xinhuan situation. I think we originally concluded that cooperation because we don't necessarily see eye to eye with the Chinese policies on several matters, and we did not see any other benefits for continuing the cooperation. And of course, we can discuss these matters more if necessary, but I think that summarizes enough. Yes, and I wanted to comment that we have tried to find this kind of customer insight.
Seassa on myöskin olla nimenomaan yhteydessä näiden vuosien hallituslaisiin, ketkä on näissä keskustelussa ollut mukana.
But of course, we wouldn't have a full continuity with the board members who have been, with the representatives and board members who have been participating in those discussions regarding the cooperation in the past years.
Kyllä. Voisin nopeasti kertoa, mitkä nämä Krust ry ja Olea Think ry on, ja sitten
Yes, I could give you a brief discussion of what the Pushed and Olea associations are. If you could give us a brief summary on those. Yes, Pushed is a. Would you like someone else to respond? Yes, if Tony is here, he can maybe answer as well. Yes, Krust is
on Aalto Creative Sustainability Student Association Crust.
Aalto Creative Student Association Crust is part of the Aalto Student Associations, and I think is
yhdistys, mitä muutama jäsen halusi tehdä ja luoda, että
an organization that came up from the student body.
Siihen en voi vastaa kunnolla, kun en tiedä.
I can't answer to that because I don't have that information right now. Yes, and please keep the questions short.
Aalto Management Team.
And
Kyllä, niin heidän kanssaan käytiin kierroksella Akren toiminnanjohtaja.
We have also taken a tour with the Aalto Management Team, and I was not present on that tour myself.
tuosia ja niitä niinku toisella puolella ja sitten oliko
over there in the
jotain muita
a
tämmöisiä
little short ways away from here,
maisteri
looking at these various different kinds of
ihan konkreettisesti
office facilities, workspaces.
erilaisia asioita.
Kiitos. Blinnikka keskifrontti.
Linika Keskifrontti, please go ahead.
Moi, Blinnikka. Milloin on Aalto-bileet?
Yes, Linika here. When is the Aalto party?
Milloin on toi Aalto party?
Aalto party 5.9.
It is on 5th of September. Thank you.
Kiitos tästä informatiivisesta kysymyksestä.
Thank you for this very informative question.
Onko muita kysymyksiä?
Any other questions?
Fiilan.
Kiitos puheenjohtaja, kun löydettiin sitä slidea, missä se AMT mainittiin. Muistaakseni mainittiin niinku salainen tai joku muu tämmöinen tilasto.
Thank you. You mentioned
Muistanko väärin?
on one of the slides, was that listed as confidential? No, it was just a separate information. That was me misreading the slide.
Ei tule muita kysymyksiä, joten
I don't see any other questions, so I will conclude the discussion on this topic.
Edustajisto päätti merkitä tiedoksi toimiston hyvin kattavat kuulumiset. Kiitos.
The representative council has hereby recorded all of the news from the central office. We will hereby conclude this item, closing the item 7, moving on to item 9 on the agenda.
Asuntokohteiden myyntiprosessin eteneminen.
Which is regarding the process of the
Yes, kiitos.
Great, thank you.
Siirrytään kohtaan 10.
Moving on to item 10 on the agenda,
Paperin muutosprosessi.
the revision process of the policy paper. The advocacy team,
Vaikuttamisen ja viestinnän päällikkö Nea Barmanin johdolla valmistellut
which is led by Advocacy and Communication Manager Nea Barman, has prepared the revision process of the policy paper and a schedule for addressing the policy paper in the Representative Council and other bodies. At the meeting, the Representative Council will be presented with the revision stages of the policy paper and the procedure at the Representative Council meetings in the autumn. Nea, go ahead. Yes, good evening to everyone. My name is Nea Barman. I am the Communications and Advocacy Manager at AYYE. Today we'll be discussing the political policy paper and its revision process. Today's agenda, I will first present to you what the policy paper is. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, but we will go through a summary regardless. Then we'll go through what the challenges are with the current policy paper, what the solutions are for those challenges, and how does the process will work for the updating process. And of course, at the end, we will have some time for questions and comments. So what is the policy paper? Every student council has their own policy paper. So this is a document that discusses different kinds of political themes that a student council can have opinions on. This could largely be summarized as saying that it shares the opinions of the student councils and its policies on big issues and more detailed subjects as well. If you start reading through the document, you see that it will have some sections that provide background, as well as some actions or action proposals or wishes or requests that AYYE has for related to these topics. What is good to notice is that the policy paper is not a document like the rules of the meetings and so on that would be binding or restrictive to our operations or define how we can work, but rather it is intended as a tool, especially for the advocacy team, but for other teams as well. And like I said, it defines our policies. So the amount of restrictions that it provides is we cannot contradict it in our values when in our operations. And as a side note, the housing also has its own separate policy paper, but we won't be discussing that today. And when you compare it with the policy papers of other student councils, they vary quite a lot. AYYE has a very similar one to ours, of this massive document of about 30 pages, while other student councils may have much smaller ones, such as 5 pages long. So there is a lot of variance between student councils on how long these are. And as most of it sort of a preview, a sort of general overview on what this, how the structure of the document looks like, it has these bigger subjects, and that then are divided further into smaller, more detailed subjects. And then a little bit about the problems of the current policy paper. It has last been updated in 2019, so it's about 4 years ago. We have had changes in the Representative Council and the board a few times, and the student body as well. So there is an open question of whether this policy paper currently reflects the current thoughts of AYYE and and the people it represents. The matters that are discussed in the policy papers and that are related to the discussion around this revision, generally the idea is that it is sort of outdated currently. There are new subjects that we should be highlighting in this policy paper. And when you look more closely to the policy paper, it is very sort of dated in the sense that there are certain statements related to the specific discourse in 2019. So it is not quite timeless. It is very focused on the matters that were at hand when it was drafted. It is also structurally a bit confusing. It has education policies mentioned in a lot of different places, and we would like to make it more clear structurally as well, so that it will be easy to read. And one thing that is also very important is, as we proceed with the process, is that we are also able to deploy this document properly so that everyone in the community is familiar with it. Then talking a little bit about the solutions. We plan on making some changes to the policy paper. I will show you some proposals about it, but these are not set in stone. These are just proposals at this stage. But it will be a structural change to the policy paper, and they are more making so that the text and individual entries are talking about the policies on a general level, not too detailed, so that it doesn't become immediately dated. And also we want to make the goals and measures to be sharper and more clear, so that they're more concisely worded. And then as a long-term solution, we know that other student councils also do this, is that we want the sections to be regularly updated, so that in the future we wouldn't need to have this big process of updating the whole thing, but so that maybe a few times a year or once a year we would do some updates to individual sections. Here's a little bit about the structure of the future policy paper, and these subsections, subheaders, and the general structure will probably be changed throughout the process, but this is the starting point that we'll start with. So it would be divided into society, Aalto community, and educational policy. And we want things like equality and international affairs to be ones that are covered in all of these sections, sort of cross-sectionally. Now, about how the process will proceed, I sent a group survey, or the survey to the interest groups of AYYE, which is very important for us, and that is specifically to gather feedback and opinions about the content of the policy paper. So what kinds of subjects and declarations and statements we want to include in the policy paper. So if you have any thoughts, you can add them directly to the survey, so we can gather the feedback properly. The feedback is open until the 28th of May, but I'm sure it will be possible to keep it open until the throughout the summer. And these will be indicative, these will be guiding tools for us in the updates process. And we will be communicating actively about the process as it proceeds. And these are some of the interest groups that the survey has been sent to. Then about the advocacy committee, or AYYE, I think it was established at the start of this year, and the goal is that we would have members from each of the REPCO group. I think we are still missing representatives from a few groups such as Luja, Kylterirengas, Skisma, and Voga. Hopefully we can get representatives from them as well. And the advocacy committee is intended to be a part of this process throughout, to help with the communications, and so the intention is to have regular meetings between AYYE and PATI, between the committee and the advocacy communication team. So it would be a very central role for this revision process. Then about the update work, which is scheduled for May through September. So the advocacy team will be organizing workshops and other events where the matter will be discussed with relevant specialists, board members, and other interest groups, and looking at the contents more in detail. And we will be working on these very actively, so that we can also bring it back to the representative council meetings regularly. And the aim is to have the material ready in September. Now, during the autumn, the work is scheduled as follows. It will be taking place gradually, so it is divided into 4 different representative council meetings, one section in each of those meetings on the policy paper. And in September, it would be we would have the preliminary debate on the first section, which is the society. Then in October, the adoption of the first section and preliminary debate for the second section. November, adoption of the second section and preliminary debate on the third section. And then in December, having the adoption of the third section, and that we would have the finished policy paper. So it is gradually divided into those three sections to those 4 different representative council meetings. And so, as I mentioned, the process includes the preliminary debate on each section and then the adoption, where the finished material would be sent to be approved by the board. And at that point, we have also taken into account any comments from the after the approval, taking into account any comments from the representative council and the advocacy committee. Here's a bit of a process flow diagram. So there's this 3 sections of the process phase, the materials being ready and discussed, and then given to debate for the representative council. And the middle stage here, the first stage here includes the board's acceptance of the material. The middle section means includes the AYYE, the advocacy committee, delivering its comments to body and introducing it to the representative council group chairs. And finally, the representative council will have its preliminary debates and adoption of those sections. A little bit about the process in more detail, where the office works on those the text based on the preliminary debate, interest group surveys and comments of the board. About 2 weeks before the representative council meeting, they will be ready and delivered to the entire representative council. Where the representative council will have the preliminary debates and possibly adopting it after a presentation to the individual representative council group chairs. And finally, as mentioned, the preliminary debate and adoption by the entire representative council. About the process in general, the last update of the policy paper was in 2019, so there are a lot of things to update and change. So it is a pretty massive process. And this kind of gradual process, we hope that it reduces the meetings that drag on very long, so that people can provide comments and we can receive comments from the widest possible audience, and to have the entire community take ownership of the policy paper. Any questions or comments at this point? Hereby opening a discussion on the topic. And Arska, go ahead. Thank you for the microphone and for the chair and the presenter. From Vihreä Aalto, I have several questions. Should I ask them one at a time, or? Yes, you can ask them all at once. The first question is regarding the division, the separation into sections. It looked very good, but the only question I have is about social policy, societal policy falling under those 3 sections. The first section had, for example, mentioned YTHS, healthcare, and I hope that, for example, the students' mental health care crisis is not a timeless topic, but for the time being, it is a very big topic for us. So how have you thought about including social policy being reflected in this policy paper? Thank you. Our experts had their ideas on these themes here, and I'm sure for the mental health services and other social policies, we will be definitely mentioning them, including them in the policy paper, so you don't need to worry about that. So, and for here as well, I recommend you turn to the survey on the policy paper structuring and bring the feedback there. And here I will give Korpo also a chance to comment.
Kiitos jälleen mikrofonin tuojalle.
Thank you again for the microphone.
Korpua ja
So
tässä on ehkä nyt pieniä tai elikkä hyvinvointi on siellä yhteiskunnan
well-being is listed there under the society section in the policy paper, or at least has been in the discussions. It is just not mentioned there on the slide, but it is certainly included in there. Of course, it is not a topic that we have missed, and it is not a topic that has become irrelevant since 2019, certainly. Thank you. We will go back to Vihreämpi Aalto. Thank you. It's fantastic to hear that the student body's well-being has not been left behind in 2019. And another question related to the interest group surveys. I don't think I had received it in my email. Was the intention also to send it to individual representatives? Yes, it has also been sent to the list of representatives, so it should be there in your inbox with the representative council list addresses. But I will send it again if you have not seen it. Yes, and my last question is, I would like a clarification on the final process. You said that for the December representative council meeting. So was the intention for this representative council to make those decisions, or will the elections change those? Did you intend for these decisions to be entirely for this representative council, or will the elections change that? The decisions will be made by this representative council. Thank you. Yes, second council next. Second Hans from Voga, thank you. Like you mentioned in your presentation and earlier in your comments, the survey is, I'm sure, very important for gathering the feedback. I'm a little bit worried about the response rates because it seemed quite like a quite extensive survey that takes a lot of work to respond, a lot of open questions. Even though I have been here for several years, it took a lot of effort to try and respond to so many open questions. So if you have a low response rate, you could also try to have some kind of a similar survey with a little bit of a lower threshold that is easier to respond to. That these kinds of very broad, extensive surveys have had difficulties generally in getting a good response rate. Yes, thank you for your comment. I don't remember off the top of my head whether the open questions are mandatory, but of course, if they are, then we can change that in the survey. And maybe if I can talk about the survey structure a little bit, there are a few key questions and then a few different separate subjects, such as the YTHS healthcare system and other valuations of how important you want to how important you think those topics should be in the policy paper. Thank you. Yes, Paulus will hear from Vihreämpi Aalto. It was a little bit unclear to me if our long-term goal is to have this policy paper become more of an ongoing process for its updating, so it's not just these individual snapshots every few years. I wonder how does this process help us get towards that ongoing update system? Yes, good question. I'm sure that it will take place so that we want to include more of these ongoing themes that we are sure that will still be present in 5 to 10 years. That we want to focus on those a little bit more. And I think the policy paper also uses examples of, for example, of events from 2019 and 2018. So we want to avoid that and talk more on a general level about these topics. And I wanted to make sure that has the advocacy committee convened yet at all? Yes, they haven't had any meetings, so we will be having the first meetings in September. Thank you. Can you put the scheduling slide back on? It looked possible, but I always get a little bit of an immediate gut reaction from these kinds of things when we look at the first two or last 2 months of the Representative Council. So if the third section does not get adopted in December, then that means that that it gets delayed to the new Representative Council, which means that they get settled with this entire new policy paper. So what is your feeling of how optimistic is this schedule right now? How realistic is it? Thank you for the comments. This has also been a matter of discussion we have had with the board, and this been I've been made aware of this. I would say that from the office, we cannot really influence the decisions of the Representative Council, but we would hope that we can keep the Representative Council valid for these decisions. But if it's then, if for example we cannot have a quorum or we cannot have a decision made in the last 2 months, then certainly measures will be taken in that case. The chair can add that it is an ambitious schedule. And I think Manninen has the next question. Heikkinen from Vihreämpi Aalto. You mentioned the different sections there, and they mentioned the capital region and also the campus areas. But those are relevant for the Mikkeli campus as well, right? Because we also have this other campus area. Yes, correct. The campus section is specifically for the campus areas, and then the capital region section is more about the urban policy, which is more about the city, the municipal level of things. Thank you.
Yes, Jaakko Sirén from Aalto. Glad to note that the General Assembly, different ways of going through the policy paper, kind of line by line. With us, the regulations do not allow a similar proposition, where we could not modify old lines approved by the board. Yes, Hirvener, Vihreämpi Aalto. Talk about this interest group survey. Think about, has this already been sent? Yes, it has. Last week, I think. You haven't found them. Yes, it's either that we don't know how to use a computer, or then there's some other reason why we haven't received it. Yes, not a situation where the fault is somewhere else. It may be that it hasn't passed through the spam filter in email. Thank you for this good computer expertise. Any other requests for floor? So, we can close discussion. And make the decision. The Representative Council decided to record the stages and schedule for the policy paper revision process. Closing item 10, moving to item 11. Any other business?
Avaan aiheesta keskustelun.
Or any discussion?
Annan puheenvuoron Segerkrantzille.
And Segerkrantz first.
Arvon edustajisto, hallitus ja muut paikalla olevat, haluan tässä vaiheessa kiittää
Council, chair, others.
edustajistotoimintaa, joka on ollut ajoittain aktiivisempaa ja ajoittain vähemmän.
I want to thank for this council term.
Paljon täällä ollaan oltu, mä varmaan jossain vaiheessa laskin, että
Sometimes active, sometimes less active. I've been here for probably about more than 30 meetings. Some people have been more than that. I want to talk about two topics that I think are important. Hopefully the others as well. First, with concerned about the community, big kind of a phase of scaling. For example, freshmen before me, 2013, we handed out 40 caps. Now we handed out 120. So 3 times as many. Number has tripled in 10 years. I think the number of students admitted is increasing constantly in all fields. And whereas before there was a kind of a trip somewhere for 10 people, now it needs to be for 110 people, so it's much more challenging. So this huge growth and scaling up in our community, we would need to pay more attention to it instead of just trying to do the same things with the same resources. I think they have more freshman captains, bigger committees. And since this is a kind of a slow change, we don't see the results right away. So that's why I think we haven't really realized it yet. So I wanted to bring this up because I believe that other people have seen and thought about this thing as well. Secondly, academic traditions are very important to me. That's why I think it's important we would remember these intergenerational issues. Also now, for example, bringing our flag to the annual ball. So that's something that I really wanted to just make sure that the flag would be brought there next year. Thank you, and thank you for your active participation in Roposen Council throughout the years. And if we would at some point acquire a new flag, I would be happy to head a working group related to this. Yes, I will mark down that you're happy to take part in a possible flag working group. Filmon? 2 quick points. Nice to get the attachments for the meeting in time. So yes, nice to get these attachments. So if you have a folder where you take them from, why not share it with us? That would be very convenient. Secondly, if it brings back fond memories, this space
olisi ikinä pitänyt tehdä tähän rakennukseen. Kiitos.
Shame to have this here in this building. This room should have never been built here. Yes, thank you for the comments, and Arstila.
Kiitos puheenjohtaja Arstila
Thank you.
Aalto. Laitoin sähköpostilistalle ponnen.
Sent a motion to the email list related to Serviniemi outdoor recreational opportunities. So in a nutshell, we would ask for the board and office to contact the city of Espoo to improve these opportunities in Serviniemi. For example, having a kind of a barbecue place there. We also sent a similar motion to the municipal council meeting as well. And if the council feels that they are in favor of the motion, then I hope that you will be in favor of it. And as Krisu said, I'd like to thank the council for this last 5.5 years. This will be my last meeting. I've been a member of 2 different groups for 3 terms. That's really made me grow as an advocator and allowed me to give something back to the Aalto community, since that it has given me so much. Thank you, and thank you for your active participation throughout the years. Any other business?
Blinnikka, keskifrontti.
Blinnikka.
Tomppa, voitko ottaa seuraavan kerran älykellon käteen, niin voit mittaa sun askelia.
Next time maybe you wear a smartwatch to see how many steps you have taken.
They will be leaving the Repco, but we also have another. Kitty from Kulttuurirengas. Not sure how long she has been serving in the Repco in total, but very much a big thank you and good luck with your graduation. All the best.
Kiitos.
Thank you.
Kiitos näistä kommenteista. Sullin yksi vielä.
Thank you. Okay, yes, one more.
Hei, Möylsä, tosiaan, kuten
Möylsä.
tiedätte, niin nyt ensi syksynä on tulossa
as you may know, next autumn we have new elections, hopefully new representatives. So during the summer we will create some social media content about what the Representative Council does. So if you are happy to show your face in some kind of videos, message us on Telegram. We will send you more details soon, but this as a heads up.
Kiitos näistä kommenteista. Oikein mukava kuulla.
Thank you for the comments. Before we close the meeting, let's have a vote on the motion that has been proposed.
Yes. Kaikki edustajiston jäsenet pystyvät ponnen näkemään.
Okay, so hopefully everyone can see it now.
Annetaan ihan pari sekuntia aikaa katsoa, mitä tapahtuu.
Give people a few seconds to read it.
Keskustelun perusteella kaikki ovat kerenneet lukemaan, mitä screenillä lukee, joten tässä
All
vaiheessa
everyone has time to
otamme
read it.
suuntaantavaa äänestyksen ponnesta.
So let's have a
Puolesta
vote.
hyväksytään, punainen on hylätään. Laput
Blue is yes, red is no.
Onko meillä yksimielinen?
I think it's unanimous.
Kiitos.
Thank you.
Suljen aiheesta keskustelun.
Closing discussion. So, closing item 11, moving to item 12, closing of the meeting. It's 7:43 p.m. Closing the meeting. Thank you. No niin, kiitoksia.
Yes.